everyone, I'm Mine, and this is set number 9444, Cole's Tread Assault from the LEGO Ninjago theme. This set contains 286 pieces, 2 minifigures, and originally retailed for $39.99 in the US when it originally came out in 2012 as a part of the Rise of the Snakes wave. This review is of course a part of my Ninjago throwback review series, so let me know in the comments which set you guys want to see a throwback review on next. And if you see any other comments suggesting a set that you'd also like to see reviewed, make sure to like those comments as well. This set was chosen based on a suggestion from my last video, so if there's a specific set you'd like to see from a 2019, let me know in the comments for a chance for it to be reviewed next week. But with all that being said, let's get on to the review. So despite technically being a 2012 set, a few of the Rise of the Snake sets were released slightly early in December 2011, and I remember that specifically because I remember getting this set as a Christmas gift from my aunt. At the time, I had no clue these sets were out yet, so I believe this was my first Season 1 Ninjago set. So I was very excited to get it built up, and I absolutely loved playing with it as a kid. But now that a lot of time has passed and I've gotten a bit older, how does it hold up? Well, let's take a look. At the front, you have these giant golden blade pieces. Those are really cool. I believe those originally came in either Bionicle or Hero Factory. But those are amazing looking pieces that are retired now, but weren't used in too many sets, so it gives this set a very unique look. You of course have the golden swords on the side for detailing, a few stickers of like this cracked rock design, and then this giant missile launcher in the center. Now these missile launchers I believe originated in Bionicle, and a lot of the early Ninjago sets used them, but if you've never seen them before, you pull back in this Technic bit right here, and they'll shoot out with quite a bit of force. As you can see, the one specifically in this set can be angled, so you can have it down ever so slightly, you can have it up, so you can aim at all different sorts of targets. But I guess the idea is you're supposed to aim it at Scales that comes in the set. That was actually pretty funny. Let's do that again with a wider shot. Yeah, genuinely very fun play feature. I feel like the reason they discontinued these shooters is because they did shoot out with a lot of force, so I feel like kids probably hurt themselves every now and then. We do have a slightly new shooter that's similar to this, like the one that's used for the Fireball in the Mighty Bowser set, but even though that one's similar, I still don't think it has the same impact that this one did. Moving back a little bit, you can see there's these black angled blade pieces that come out to the side with obviously gold detailing on them and more of that cracked rock design. Those are identical on both sides. Then in the center you have the main seating area for Cole. Oh, it's a bit dusty in there. And you can see there's just a little control panel at the front and just some plates for Cole to sit. So you plop him in there like that, close back up around him, and there you go, now he's securely in the vehicle. Now as you can see, there's a bit of a shake to this. There's a purpose of that, but I'm not going to show you it yet, I'll show you it in a moment. But even so, just like this, it does make the vehicle feel a little more dynamic. Taking a look at this though with fresh eyes, I don't remember this looking so skeletal. Like I get, obviously LEGO design standards have changed over time, and this kind of stuff was more common back then, but the body of this car is just so empty. Obviously there's a lot of room in the interior so that Cole's able to spin, but even so, this Technic beam has tons of exposed studs, no detail covering it up. Like just the plates there would make it look a little nicer. So yeah, that does feel like very thin and basic. So when looking at it from the top down, it does kind of hurt the overall look of this build. From much lower angles, it's not a big deal. And as I mentioned when I was a kid, I know I loved this and that didn't bother me. So I guess it's not the biggest deal, but it's definitely strange to look back at. Then we have a collection of exhausts out the back right here with some sticker pieces on top. More of those like angular black pieces with like the rocky design. And then out the very back, there's a thruster. A real quick look at the wheels. Obviously we have one small one and one big one. The big one uses a spinner crown on top, and this is one of the first sets to do that, and it does look very cool. But then there is a play feature with this. If you push in on that thruster at the back, that'll actually open up all these black blades. Now, it did it pretty well there, but when I was a kid, I remember it being quite inconsistent. You can see it pushes on these gray angled pieces right here, and I remember those falling off a lot as a kid, so it definitely wasn't the sturdiest play feature. So even though I really like this set, I'd keep it in its closed up form most of the time, because this transformation was inconsistent, honestly just looks worse. It's fun, don't get me wrong, especially in concept, but in execution, it's not the best. Additionally, when the car's in its transformed state, it shows off how skeletal it really is. Like, look at that, that's a single Technic piece. That's wild to me. Now, there is one more play feature with this set, and that is that it's meant to be reversible. So this is the entire reason Cole's like cockpit area turns, because the idea is you would turn this over, and this puts the vehicle into snake disguise mode. Now this is not something we ever saw in the show, but makes for a very fun and goofy toy. I absolutely love this. Now I will mention I believe I'm missing 2 pieces here. As I said, I got this set back in 2011. I was 9 years old at the time, so I've kept it mostly together, but you can see I'm missing a rounded piece right here, and there should be one more of these lime green angled pieces back here. But yeah, the snake disguise is interesting. Definitely a fun idea, and I know I did like turning this over when I was a kid, and it still rolls along the ground just as well. Though if you accidentally turn it over when it's in its transformed form, the blades will drag across the ground a little bit more, so that is a little counterintuitive, but still, when you do it correctly, it rolls just fine, and I think that's a pretty fun concept. The actual snake disguise build isn't great. This is before LEGO really had pieces to cover up the undersided bricks. This rounded piece is pretty much the only one they had, so as such, like, the look of it's very limited, just lots of anti-studs going on, but I still think all things considered, it's pretty impressive, and it's a fun play feature to cram into this set. But if they ever were to make a legacy version, I'd be interested to see, like, how they could do it nowadays, because yeah, I think they could do a much better job now. But I think that's about it for the actual build of Cole's Treadassault. So now let's move on to the minifigures, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts. So here's the first minifigure in the set, Cole ZX. And I've talked about this minifigure before, but overall I like it. It is on the blander side, but I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. The earlier suits are obviously more simple than the newer ones, but this still represents Cole's vibe and personality pretty well, so I would by no means call it a bad suit. He of course has his silver armor and the silver crest on his head. I think silver works really well with Cole's overall color scheme. The armor pad things are interesting. I'm not sure exactly what they were going for, but you know what, they look cool, they're good, they're unique. So I'm a pretty big fan of them. I like the brown ropes that continue from the torso into the legs, and then other than that, he pretty much just has a basic ninja robe underneath all that. So while he's probably not one of my favorite of the ZX suits, it's still a minifigure I like overall. And obviously in 2012, I believe this was the cheapest way to get this minifigure, aside from I guess the spinner, so he was really good in that sense too. Taking his armor and mask off there, you can see his full face print, just the same standard face he had since the beginning. Oh, and I guess I didn't mention he also comes with the Scythe Quakes here, which did come in quite a few sets at the time, but it is still cool to see. And then around the back, he has his original symbol back there. That's actually a metallic gold, which is pretty cool. And then those armored shoulder pads carry over. Yeah, I quite like this minifigure. This set was the way I got him as a kid, and I was very excited to get a Rise of the Snake Skull. And even to this day, I have a lot of nostalgia for this minifigure and for this suit. I think it's pretty good. And then the other minifigure in the set is Scales, and then there's also this tiny little Hypnobrai snake. So Scales is fantastic. Obviously, he's one of the 5 Serpentine generals, and this was the cheapest way to get any Serpentine general, and Scales was the only general to come in more than one set. However, this was the cheaper way to get him. I remember being so excited to get Scales because, again, these sets came out slightly before they were supposed to, so this was like a little taste of what the snakes would be. And I don't remember exactly, but I do think season 1 of the show had just started airing, or if not, when I got this set soon after. And obviously, Scales is a very significant part of season 1 of the show, so I remember being super excited to get this figure because he is such an important character. In terms of the figure itself, I think it's really good. The yellow and dark blue is a super unique color combination, especially with the white as well. Obviously, they have their red hypnotic eyes, which are done super well. And I love how every single surface of Scales' head is printed. He genuinely looks really cool, and he's a minifigure I'm super happy to have. Just a ton of fun all around. Here, that's me leaning him down so you can see the top of his head. And then he also has the Hypnobrai snake staff, which of course came in quite a few sets, but still was nice to get here, and obviously fits Scales perfectly. And then these little tiny snakes, they came in all the sets this wave, and honestly I think they were a lot of fun. LEGO should take notes on this, do this in more waves, but I know as a kid it was cool to get a bad guy that wasn't a full minifigure. Because obviously Scales is amazing, but he costs a lot more for LEGO to produce. They can't just throw 20 of him in a set. But these little guys came in nearly every set. They came in some spinners as well. And I remember having fun playing with them too, just imagining them as bad guys. There was something small and simple for the ninja to fight, and they were easy to throw into sets that didn't have that many minifigures. And they were genuinely fun to collect and get a lot of too. Really cool shape to them too, and they can also be held and used as a weapon. I think this specific snake mold is discontinued now, but for the time it was incredible, and looking back I do still really like them. And so, what are my overall thoughts on this set? I loved this set as a kid, so I have to give it points for that. But taking a look back, I don't think it's aged the best. Because sometimes I take a look back at sets and I'm like, wow, this is amazing still today. This one is good, but it has some flaws. I think it is because I played with it so much as a kid, I do know what its flaws are. It's a bit fragile, it falls apart sometimes. Certain angles it looks really cool and does demand a presence, but other angles it feels like there should be more going on there. And the snake camouflage idea kinda seems half-baked. It's about as good as they could do for the time, but that's exactly it for the time. Nowadays they could do the same concept much better, so it is a little silly to look back on, but I'm not gonna fault it for that too much. So no, while I do like this set, reviewing this just makes me really, really wish we had a legacy version. We have legacy versions of all the other Golden Weapon vehicles, but this one unfortunately was left behind. And that's a shame because I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement here, and a legacy version of this could have genuinely been an incredible set, but yeah, unfortunately that just never happened. If Legacy ever comes back, this is one I definitely want to see them make. I'm curious to hear from you guys, what improvements would you like to see in a Legacy version? But yeah, overall, I can't dislike this set, I still do like it. I have a lot of happy memories with it, and nothing can ever take that away. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please press like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do LEGO and Ninjago videos just like this one almost every day, so if you subscribe, be the first to see them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!